allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. Board meetings are generally held on the third Tuesday of the month. The Board of Education is a body of school district residents elected by the community in charge of conducting school-related business. The meetings are conducted under the open meeting law, but are not open forums for the community. That being said, visitors to these meetings are to conduct themselves properly and with respect to any other individuals at the meeting. The Board of Education reserves the right to remove any individual for improper display of behavior or inappropriate language. The Board of Education will have a period of time devoted to visitor requests following any board presentations and approval of minutes shortly after the opening of the meeting. Individuals wishing to address the board will be permitted to speak up to 3 minutes. A total of 30 minutes may be allowed for public comment. If we have any visitors tonight, we'll go over the guidelines a little bit more closely when that time comes. Carla, do you mind doing a roll call for us, please?
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Benjamin.
Here.
Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Yonker-Davis.
Present.
Mr. Lamb.
Here.
Is she looking at me? Mr. Zila. I'll go Mr. Zila.
Here.
And you're here.
Here.
And I'm here as well, Carla.
You
Oh,
missed
do I
Justin.
usually call you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sometimes,
okay,
but
Mr.
not on the
Stabell.
phone, just here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mr. Stabell.
I am present, thank you,
Okay,
thank you,
sure.
Carla. Presentation tonight. Mike, you are up, there you are.
Yes. How's everybody doing tonight? We're just gonna do an update on the construction project. Just to give you an idea, this is an area photo that actually Rob took from the drone, and we did a still shot of what was going on. This was about a week and a half or so ago. And just want to kind of go over what we're doing out there with regard to the logistics of the area. Some of the areas we've changed some of the dates. We're actually doing better. We're getting into the areas a little bit quicker than what was originally anticipated, just because of the amount of construction we need to do in those. Just to give everybody an idea, this is what we call Area F, which is this area here, which is the wood and metal shop, and the steam and, actually steam's over here.
Oh, I was gonna say, don't touch the board.
There we go, that's what I said. Let me go back. There we go, see, I was able to do that. But we've got the steam and the drafting areas, and then this is going to be the new concession area, the bathroom area, the men's and women's bathrooms, and then the art room. So what the situation is we're looking to turn over the steam and the drafting room early, which is going to be the end of August, by start of school. We're hoping this, the wood shop and metal shop, we weren't looking to turn that over till December, but we're hopefully gonna get it turned over a little bit sooner. The concession area, art room, and toilet rooms, we're gonna have those finished by the end of August. The fax rooms, we're in there working, we're gonna have those done by the end of August. We did start the team rooms a little early, about a month early. They weren't planned on being finished until next year, June of next year, but we're looking to hopefully deliver them by November, mid-November. And then the others for next year is going to be the science rooms, the pool area, and then the middle school classrooms. We're gonna start those a little bit later, but we'll get those done this year still. So that's where we are. So I'm just gonna go over some pictures. I know some of the board members went for a little tour beforehand, and some of it's gonna be the same as what they saw, but just to give everybody an idea of what's going on. This is just a picture of the electrician working on one of the handholds. This is some of the power going out to the barn and to concessions, doing some splicing there. Here is the site track and field area. It's been cut down to subgrade. Here is the parking lot area to the west of, to the east of the school here. We've got sub-base on there, so things are moving pretty good there. We're gonna use that as a laydown area. Sorry for not addressing over here. This here is out in the middle of the new track and field. There was an existing power panel that we had to remove, so that the electrician's out there moving that. Here's the track and field area looking to the east. They were still stripping topsoil in that area. Same thing here, just more of a view of what's going on. Same here. That's looking north. Way back here is where the scoreboard foundation is going to be. So just to give everybody an idea of how things are progressing out there. Here is another manhole where we were doing some splicing, and that's going out to the same area. Here is the foundation for the scoreboard. It's a very large foundation. And then here is some more site work going on. This was taken a couple days ago, just moving some of the cuts and fills that were remaining. Here we have the subgrade has been completed, so they've cut it down to where it needs to be, and they're bringing in stone to work for a surface to work off of. Inside the building, this is demo within the wall demo within the new teams room area. This is what the new teams room area looks after all the walls were removed. Here is in the fax area some of the shoring that was put up there to hold up the joists until the beam, steel beam gets put in there Bill, what do you call that?
That is the drafting. That's drafting and steam. You're staying in the steam room looking towards drafting, and the shoring's in place until the two new steel beams that are installed. One is for a bifold door, and the other is for the structural support to the roof system.
And by the way, sorry I didn't introduce Bill Bain. He's our superintendent. He's the guy that is making everything happen out in the field. So he's a really great person to work with. Again, here is in the steam room, just to give you an idea, some of the shoring and some of the trenching. We've got a bunch of plumbing that's going into these areas. So that's what you're seeing there. This here is a picture in the steam room as well of the foundation. Right here is the foundation that went in for the structural columns and beam that's going up there. This here is the metal shop area. The trenches that are going in there for plumbing. This is an office in between the wood shop and the metal shop. Just again, a lot of trenching going on for plumbing. And there is concrete. They started concrete yesterday, filling up the trenches. This is where the foundation was poured, and that's one of the columns. More concrete at the trenches going in. This is before they finished it. They just poured it. And there's the steel beam that went across in the steam room. It's a large steel beam where the folding partition is going to go. And this is area E, which is going to be the new fax area. Actually, what we're looking at from right where you see this trench here going to the to the plastic on the wall, that's going to be the new health room, classroom. And then this is looking the opposite way, and this is gonna be the fax room. So we've got a bunch of plumbing going in there, that's what you're seeing there. And that's all I've got. Any questions?
Well, I think, prior to approving this, we did a lot of facility committee work, and we realized a lot of the space that was being addressed wasn't being used in the way it was initially intended to. A lot of it was just storage or just not being used in the way that it best could be. And I think walking around here now, there's so much consolidation of the locker rooms, and then the last time this was redone, it was done in a way where there was no kids there, so it was just an addition. And I think this time it's different, and there's some displacement. And I guess today, walking through that, it's a real eye-opener to me to think about, like, this isn't new paint. This is major work being done and addressing some problems that have been kind of beneath our noses from previous ones that we just weren't aware of. I think this is gonna be a pretty major overhaul to these rooms that I guess I didn't understand the magnitude of it.
Yeah, and I think, whenever you get into a construction project, there's always unforeseen conditions that you encounter, and that's what we are encountering those things, but we're working through them, and things are going on, they're on schedule. Inside, we're about 4 weeks behind schedule out in the track and field area. One of the good things is we did start early, so we started 2 weeks early, so right now we're about 2 weeks behind from the original schedule. The contractor is gonna start working weekends to make up as much time as they can, so currently we still are on schedule to turn that over come September.
In the back there, how much more parking are you gonna be able to pick up?
There's about 120 spaces, it's like 117 regular spaces, and then there's some handicap spaces as well.
Now, where did you have to give up the green space to make up the parking?
Over to what would be to the east of where the new stadium is, or right over in the corner, the east corner of the project. That's where we're building the parking lot. You'll see, if you go out there, it's right off the existing parking lot. It goes down, and you'll see where there's stone, and we're utilizing it currently.
That will be the green space, huh?
No, that will be the parking.
Oh, that'll be the parking.
The parking area. It will have some green around the parking area, but then, the field itself, I mean, it's gonna be turf. And then outside of the field is gonna be green.
Okay.
Space, so. Any other questions?
I don't think it's a question, it's more of the obvious of the amount of dirt that's extra than what we originally anticipated. So right now, I think what we need to realize is it's a construction site, and any construction site, it's not gonna look perfect until it's complete. It doesn't matter if it's a residential construction site in your home or one more to this magnitude. So at this point in time, we are going to be using some of that dirt, and then we're investigating other options of what we're gonna be able to do it once it's complete. But by no means is there that pile of dirt going to be all there when this is all done. So be patient, and just think about something at your house. I know that I've dug into walls in my house and couldn't believe what was behind some of the walls there, or in my backyard, and found conduit in my backyard that I never had any idea about.
Okay.
Right, and so we'll get there, and it's something that we're monitoring, and when we have an absolute understanding of what's gonna happen to that, we'll let you know. So for now, construction site. September, we'll have a good idea of where it's going.
That's right. And in September, I mean, we'll have a playing field. I mean, and a lot of the areas will be seeded, but they're not gonna be green, so to speak. You know, so that's one of the things we're gonna have to deal with. But the field will be playable, and we're just gonna have to keep off those areas, that's all.
And it sounds a lot of athletics, and it is, but there's a lot of programming that's going on right now as well. So the fax room is gonna be fantastic, and it's gonna have updates that are, well, complete overhaul. Mr. Hoffines is gonna have all new facilities, our art room, our drafting, there's a lot of programming that's happening, and then within that following year, we'll have the science rooms redone as well. So it's not just one-sided, there's a two-sided approach here. That just is a lot to look at wherever I'm at, in the back there. It's a lot to
There's
take
just
in.
as much going on inside the building as there is outside the
Yep.
building, so.
Yep. Any other questions, guys?
By the fall, how much of this project will be completed?
Percentage?
When they get opened in September?
Percentage-wise, probably about 65% of the project will be complete.
Okay.
But that's not including the science rooms that we'll be doing, so that's a larger portion. So a lot of the work that you've seen in these pictures, a large majority should be done
Yes.
at that time. And again, like, this is different from our last one, because there are no kids in that space right now, and we should be able to have all at it and attack it, where during our last capital project, that wasn't always the case, or we were lagging with materials. It doesn't seem like there's a supply issue here for the most part, like there was for the last one, and that, we had a little bit of, like, it doesn't take us long to think about how many times we had a presentation say, well, we'll have it done in the following month, and the following month. I feel like we're on target to be where we need to be.
And the district's been more than cooperative, trying to get us areas as soon as we can, and we really appreciate that. It's only gonna help everything down low.
Which is really tough on, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Hoffines, Ms. Kelly today or yesterday, and it's tough, but we appreciate it, and hopefully they'll enjoy their new facility when it's here.
That's right.
So, Billy, Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate your time in the tour. It's nicer when you're actually walking through it than just looking at it from, a parking lot out there at night and thinking, what is happening back there? But it looks great.
Great,
And
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Have a
Mike.
great evening.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you.
Drive safe.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, on to budget hearing presentation. So Laura?
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. In this presentation, I'll be going over our proposed 2025-2026 general fund budget, which will be put up for voter approval next Tuesday, May 20th. This will just be an overview. There's more detailed information on our website, which I'll get to at the end of the presentation. So getting to the bottom line first, we're proposing a budget for the 25-26 year of $25,555,345. This represents about a 2.13% increase over the current year's adopted budget, and it includes a proposed levy of $5,839,050, which is about a 2.5% increase over the current year's levy. So getting into the expenditure side of the budget first, the expenditure side is made up of three components. The program makes up the majority of the budget at 64%. Then we also have a capital component and an administrative component. For a little more details, here are the numbers for each component. Your program component provides the funds for the instruction and education and support service for the district students. And it includes special ed, regular ed, the transportation of students to and from school, all related salaries and benefits. And that's, again, the majority of your budget at 64%. We also have an administrative component, so that includes the expenses for your Board of Education, your central office, your supervision of the district's two schools, legal services, and amongst other things, related salaries and benefits. That's about $3.8 million or 15% of the budget. And then your capital component is funding to operate and maintain your buildings and property. And this also includes school bus purchases and your debt service, and that comes in at $5.3 million or 20%, and that gives you the total $25 million and change budget. So looking at the three components together, there's salaries and benefits and some of these things in each of those components. So salaries and benefits make up the majority of our budget. You can see the changes from year to year, dollar change or percent change. We have a little debt service falling off the schedule this year, so that's why that is down. We're reducing our transfer to capital. And your other lines include equipment, materials, and supplies, and that again adds up to your $25 million budget. And you can see the increase again is the 2.13% over the prior year budget. So to look at a couple highlights in the expenditures, we piloted a new Reveal Math series this year, so that's in the budget to purchase for this coming year. We're continuing with the capital outlay projects. The proposed project for 25-26 is replacing some middle school classroom flooring. That's getting a little old. We also are proposing the purchase of 3 new buses, so 1 full-size, 2 small buses, 1 with a wheelchair lift. And of note is that we'll get aided at 90% of this cost over the next 5 years, and we'll also be trading in or selling the vehicles that are being replaced, so that will further defray the cost of that. Staffing levels are being reduced. We have 7 full-time teachers retiring and only 1 is being replaced. And we're reducing a part-time technology staff position that we contract through BOCES. And also the elementary and middle high summer camp is being eliminated. So for the revenue side, if you know for a balanced budget, if you have expenses going out, you have to have revenues coming in at the same rate to cover the expenses. And this is a visual of where those revenues may come from. State aid makes up about 64% of our budget, followed by the levy at 23%, and a few other revenues. Let's get into a little more detail. Here's what this looks like. So your state aid, we have a small reduction in that this year. Our tax levy, we're asking for the 2.5% increase, which equates to $142,000 more than 16. We have a new pilot coming on board, so that's why that increase is here. The pilot, that's the exact dollar reach for that. Unclassified revenue includes things like interest income, use of facilities, gifts and donations. There are a lot of miscellaneous revenues that go into that bucket, giving us this total. And then to close the gap to equal our expenses, we're also using fund balance, and this year we're using some use of reserves. So our savings that we have, we're using to close this budget gap. Some revenue highlights. Again, we're asking for a 2.5% tax increase. This overrides the tax cap. We had a negative tax cap this year of 2.61%, which would mean our levy would actually have to decrease to stay within that cap. So going to that 2.5% tax levy increase, we would need a supermajority of voter approval, which is 60%, instead of the 50% plus 1. Also of note, we were waiting for the governor's budget to come in. It was due April 1st, but our board had to approve a budget without those numbers. We were happy to see when they came in that our state aid was in line with what we assumed in the budget, so we're happy to see that. We're reducing the use of appropriated fund balance this year, and we're using reserves again. Like I mentioned, the 2 reserves we'll be using are ERS and the unemployment reserve. So the tax levy, as I mentioned, the tax cap, and this bar up here on the left side is the result of the calculation. So the calculation says that to stay within the tax cap, we would have to reduce the levy, and there's your negative 2.61%. Here's our proposed levy and the increase, again, that needs a super majority of voters. And just to give you a little history and a visual of it, in this chart, this is the allowable levy each year, and this is what the district proposed, which we have stayed for the most part. The yellow line is the allowable levy, and the blue line is the actual levy that we proposed. We stayed under that for a majority of the time. This year, because of this negative number, that's why we're asking, we have to override the tax cap to even get to that 2.5%. So what this means for an average house, this is the same bar as in the previous slide. Those are your historical tax rates on the left. The 25-26 rate is estimated because you can see that The tax rate is made up of 3 different things. We only know the tax levy right now. We'll know the rest of the information, the equalization rates and the assessment rates over the summer, so that'll be finalized. So with an estimated tax rate of $17 and about 68 cents per 1,000, on an average $100,000 home, your taxes are estimated to go up about $43 based on this proposal. So for more detailed budget information, you can visit our website at aohornets.org. Just click on the district tab, go to budget info, and the 25-26 budget. We have a lot of documents there. You can get more detailed information. Our budget vote will be next Tuesday, May 20th. You can vote between 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. right here in the middle school library. Proposition 1 is our proposed budget. You can also vote for 2 open board seats and 1 trustee for the Haxton Memorial Library. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
The tax levy, how is that found out? Or how do you get the facts and figures to make that work?
So there is a tax cap calculation that the state puts out, and it has a lot of figures in it. So this is what the formula looks like blank. And then here it is for our district. So you start with the prior year's tax levy, and then the state gives you this growth factor, and get that result. Your pilots are payments in lieu of taxes, so these are the prior year pilots get added on. And then there are a list of exclusions, and then you get an adjusted levy. This is the 2%, the growth factor that's always capped at 2%, and then you subtract the coming year's pilots. So if you remember on the previous screen, we have a new pilot coming on. So that makes that number higher than this, and that's one piece that contributes to this negative tax cap. So unfortunately, the state doesn't have a floor for the tax levy. I thought maybe that it would zero out.
And the tax levy can only go up so much?
Correct. So the result of this calculation is saying our tax cap is actually less than the levy of the current year. So it's a negative number. And the state allows that. They don't have a minimum.
You have to have a negative number, right?
You don't have, it's unfortunate to have a negative number.
Right.
You want a positive number. Because the result of this calculation means we can't levy more than next year without getting voter super approval. So that is why it's 2.5% is a modest increase, but we need the supermajority because of this negative number. Other districts, if you remember the other slide, last year the increase was 4%, and we did not exceed the tax cap on that just because of this calculation.
Ron, it's a crazy formula, just going through all of that. The real focus is that we have an extra pilot payment coming on. While pilots sometimes can be good for school districts, in a sense like with this tax cap formula, they do end up kind of hurting us in a sense. So when all of this comes out, basically, and most districts, I think we're the only Genesee Valley school district in the area that has a negative tax cap. Some are at 2.5, some are at 3, some are at 3.5, and usually, for the most part, school districts go out at that cap or maybe a little bit under. Ours is negative.
In the 16-17 year, I see there was a negative cap as well.
Right. So it's very rare that this happens, but because of that extra pilot payment coming on, it just forces us as a calculation to have a negative property tax cap. So in a sense, if we said we were going out at 0%, we still need a supermajority. And unfortunately, during these financial times with state aid, and I'm sure people are watching, and the governor's budget, we have to propose a tax that that we felt we were comfortable with, that can help kind of assist us with this. We are using close to $700,000 in reserves, so I want the community to know that we are cognizant of supplementing our budget with our reserves, but that's certainly nothing that can be sustainable year after year.
It's good to note that, though, those reserves in the audit were overfunded. some of the
Yeah.
reserves were overfunded, so it is,
Correct.
we're not depleting our reserves.
Correct. But because we are overriding that negative 2%, education law and state law basically says that you need a supermajority to pass your budget. So we need 60% voter approval next Tuesday to pass this budget.
I bet over the course of the next 5 years, maybe I won't bet, I wonder and suppose, and Pete and I were in the GCEDC meeting, there's economic activity going on in this district, so we may see, or you may see, a couple more times where you're gonna have a negative tax cap as the new pilots come on. So there's the data center they're talking about, that has a lot of hurdles to clear, but that's a big number, that they're talking about for potential pilot revenue. The solar, installations, yeah. So there are more things going on in this district, so we're unique in this district in that there's economic activity going on. But it may not be, you may see this again in the next 5 years, I will say.
Right. We did have a meeting last week with Mark Massey. One of the recommendations, and you're right, there's a lot of things that could be coming down the line. He did mention that data center, and that was a large number. His first thought was to put it in an educational contribution agreement or a host community agreement and not a pilot, because that does have negative effects on your tax levy. So.
But then it falls off after 20 years, and then we're left holding the bag.
And that's the issue with pilots, where it's part of your revenue, and let's say we have a pilot that comes off going into this next school year that we were receiving, $225,000 for. Now you're starting your budget $225,000 in the hole, or not receiving that revenue. So pilots do play a little bit of
But that will
a
also put that
calculation
tax
game.
cap calculation, and your residents don't wanna hear it, but in that year, you'll be able to increase taxes by 7%. Because
Correct.
you lost that pilot.
Right.
revenue.
Correct.
But aren't those pilot programs set up in such a way that as they decline, their properties become part of your tax roll and they start taking on part of the tax burden? Isn't that the intent of those pilot agreements? They become part of your regular tax base and then take on some of the burden that the local taxpayer is
Be part of the assessed value of the district.
Mhm.
After the pilot's over, these are set
Correct.
up as flat rates.
Yes, so you may lose that pilot
But you'll
revenue,
still,
but they pick up some of the tax burden that the local people are carrying.
Decrease the tax rate,
Correct,
Yes.
right.
but you'll still need to increase the tax levy in order to
yes.
replace that pilot revenue.
Well, that's the other thing, like if the company doesn't stay there,
Then, but that property still
Still
has
has
a
the
tax
value.
burden, it still has an assessed value, and it still has a tax burden. Whoever owns that property has that tax burden, so it's still there. You're not going, whoever owns the property still has that burden.
In your budget there, you had replacing 3 buses.
Yes.
Are they of the electric buses, or are
They're
they,
diesel buses.
they're the diesel buses
Yes.
yet?
All three.
They haven't made that mandatory to go to,
Not yet, and I believe there's gonna be, possible extensions to the date that we have to go all electric, yes. Any questions?
Yeah, quick questions, instructional, so you had 6 or 7 retirements,
Correct. We had 7 retirements this year.
but then I look at instructional salaries in that, and it only goes down 72,500.
Correct.
How is it, why is that only that much money?
Right. So when you have breakage in retirements, and I don't know if you want to explain this, we're not replacing 6 of them. However, the teachers' salaries that are still here, we have a contract, and they have increases. So while we are retiring 6 teachers, the other 100 teachers that we have are receiving pay increases. So the overall savings to the district is the amount that you're looking at.
Well, and that line you see right there also includes administration, right? So that's,
Yes,
that's
this
why,
is all three
that's
components,
all
so it's not
combined.
just the teachers, it's maintenance, it's from the capital component, the administrative component, yes.
That makes
These are
sense.
all salaries and benefits
Which
from all
all
three
of those
categories.
groups would then have salary increases included. in
Correct,
coach increases.
yes.
So I'm looking at the component budget that just has instructional salaries
Okay, from the,
from the budget workshops.
Right, so there's, what, and I don't have that in front of me, what is the savings it says?
under the program, the 24-25 budget, the instructional salaries were 4,823,540, and this proposed budget is 4,750,987.
Yes.
Difference of 72,533.
Correct, so that is, you take those 6 retirements that we have, but you throw in the extra increases of the 100, or the extra 90 teachers that are receiving a pay raise, the instructional salaries, and that's the savings.
The other question I had was, athletics. Athletics went up 109,675.
I know we're purchasing some equipment for athletics. Let's see. This doesn't have the year-to-year changes.
Last year was 284,900. This coming year proposed is 394,575.
I'd have to look at the individual budget numbers to see exactly what went into there. If you want to leave your email address or a name, I can give you a call.
A real quick answer is there's some equipment that we're purchasing, but we can get you the exact figures. We have those by line item.
Is that like part of it to maintain like the new fields, the turf, or?
No, this budget really has nothing to do with the work outside. You're also talking coaching salaries. Coaches receive additional pay raises if they continue to coach. There's new equipment, things like that. But again, we can get you, more detailed information. But the general answer to that is the equipment, even just cost of officials, goes up. You talk about having 2 officials or 5 officials for a football game at an extra $10 or $20 a game. We take all that into account, in addition, and again, coaching salaries and stipends, always, have an increase, so, but we can get you that information.
I think I was also an increase in equipment from 7,000 up to 39,443.
Let's see, equipment being bought this year includes cameras and walkie-talkies. In the maintenance department, a scrubber, burnisher, and a lawnmower. We also have some band equipment, a lot of equipment for ed, athletics I mentioned, the fitness center, and some transportation equipment outside of the school bus purchases.
One other question, what is the pilot for this year, the one coming in?
It's the Edwards vacuum?
Okay, down
Yep.
in Alabama.
Yep.
Louisiana.
Yes.
Anything else? Thank you.
Everybody for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Laura.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Laura.
thank you for the questions. Moving on to minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the April 8th, 2025 regular meeting and April 22nd, 2025 special meeting be approved. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
There's just one error in there. It says, where it says members present on the 422. It has members present twice, but I was absent, so I just wanted to look at that. It's like in the-
So does it say that you were there, or?
It says present and that I'm listed, but I'm listed separately. So it's like just copy pasted twice. It's no big deal, but.
It says members present, so members absent.
Members
in that
absent.
second
Yeah.
line.
Good catch, Mallory.
I'm in order to read the minutes. too.
Hey, well, no, yeah, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Carly, we have any?
We do not.
Okay. Approval of warrants. Be it resolved that after an audit of the bills, payment of the warrants, and internal claims audit reports be approved. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 6.2 Treasurer's Reports. Be it resolved that the Treasurer's Reports for March be approved. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, John, we got policy
Hey,
5685.
I got a policy for you. Obviously, this is a new policy that came out per, state ed in regards to the maximum temperatures in school buildings and indoor facilities and classrooms. This policy completely follows the regulations in regards to extreme heat conditions and spaces that reach 82 degrees. Basically, we have to mitigate that area with, fans or, closing windows, closing shades, all of that. The back part of this policy basically prohibits us for occupying any sort of space that reaches 88 degrees. So this policy just follows those regulations, and obviously will mitigate those areas if we ever get to those temperatures. So I do recommend that the board, approve this policy. Those temperatures aren't gonna change. It's not like we randomly picked them and we're just following, state ed and getting into the, late May and June. I don't know if we're gonna hit those temperatures, but if we do, we have a policy in place, so.
Do you know
Pretty
how-
straightforward.
How hot we're getting in classrooms?
I wanna say last year, I think there were 2 days that we had some concerns. And basically, I wanna say that we got up to about 85 degrees in a class. We never hit 80, 88.
That's pretty hot.
But, even 82, that's warm. So depending on, and here's the thing, certain classrooms, certain parts of this building, certain classrooms at that high school wing get really, really warm because they have the sun. And then there's a lot of obviously cooler areas and even air-conditioned areas. So the mitigation factors is we just let the, if the teacher's that uncomfortable, we go down there, we measure, the middle of the classroom, from the floor. If it's, and even if it's not 82 degrees and the teacher feels uncomfortable, all right, want to move your class to the library, want to move to the auditorium, want to move somewhere else. There's plenty of spaces, but we've never had a major issue where, like, we had to evacuate the building or cancel school or anything like that. It really just depends on, where the sun is at the point of the day and, the classrooms that are being occupied. Actually, the elementary school seems to be a lot cooler than here. I can't for the life of me figure out why. But when you walk down to the elementary school, I usually, go back and forth. It's like 5 or 10 degrees cooler at the elementary school. But, we haven't had major issues where it's been week after week or consecutive days, 4 or 5 days where, we're really having issues, Happens probably maybe once in the fall and once or twice. Now that I say that, it's gonna happen all the time in June, but even when we do and we have testing for Regents exams, we'll have them here in the library or, air-conditioned spaces where kids can work and be comfortable, so.
I read through this, I have no questions on it, but I guess my only question was, how is this monitored, and are teachers the people that are required to raise a flag if the temperature is feeling hot? How do we know we're compliant with this policy, I guess? is my
Right, so
question.
Jordan has a computer system that has a temperature in each classroom.
Great.
Okay, he doesn't sit there and monitor
Sure.
it. We're aware of it. We know, okay, Sunday's gonna be hot,
Right.
it's gonna be hot. So we're already kind of prepared for it. Yes, usually it's the teacher going, wow. I've sent out emails before, even before the school day of, please don't open your windows. Keep your blinds shut. Try to keep your lights off. We'll have fans in the hallway. Opening up your windows, you're now allowing that hot air in. So it's really a team effort. But, you know, anytime that we do have an employee say, my room is hot, you know, we go down there immediately and, you know, again, mitigate, you know, the situation or things like that. So really, it's a team effort. We don't have alarms that sound, but, you know, he does have a computer that he can go back to and say, oh, it's reading 79, but we'll actually go and take a hand thermometer down there and measure like the policy just to see what it's at.
Yeah.
And if we need to move kids, we do, or bring in some extra fans or whatever. Some of these classrooms do have window air conditioners, you know, for children's accommodations, so, you know, we'll just end up, you know, moving a teacher or like I said, providing a different space for them.
Makes sense, perfect. Yeah, I just, if it was on the teacher, I was curious if they
It's
understand.
not always on the, I mean, again, you know when it's gonna be a warm day,
Yeah,
so
sure.
you're just prepared for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think what's, you know, is interesting is there's really no insulation.
Oh, yeah.
You've got your, you know, your acoustic tile and then a metal ceiling. So that heat hits, it's like a convection up, like it just heats up. And so like we're in our homes where we have some insulation to kind of dampen that heat, it gets hot. And so I don't think there's a ton of wiggle room for this policy or a real big reason to read this over and over again. It's like a speed limit, right?
Yeah, those are the temperatures.
That's it.
Per,
So I don't see any reason for us to do a second read at all, unless somebody disagrees, and of course I'm okay with that.
I'll make a motion to
Thank
approve
you.
the policy as written.
Second.
Thank you. I don't believe we need any further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, John. John, you're up.
Okay, this Thursday evening at 7 o'clock in the Middle High School Auditorium, we have our district chorus concert. Next Tuesday, May 20th, is our district budget vote from 11 to 8 p.m. That day is packed. We have our elementary school family picnic, our district art show. Our awesome PTO is sponsoring a spaghetti dinner from 3 to 7 in the cafeteria up here. And obviously, we also have our district band concert at 7 o'clock. So it's going to be a packed campus, and it's honestly my favorite time of the year. You talk about, you know, what do you enjoy? What's your favorite time of the year? And I love when our campus is just packed with parents and kids and activities and events. So I encourage our community to, you know, come out to dinner, support our PTO, and listen to a nice concert and vote. So that's next Tuesday. Our elementary bike to school day is next Thursday, May 22nd, before the break. Students should meet at Triangle Park around 8:10, 8:15, and you know, I'll be out there. We'll have plenty of adults, supervisors. Thank you, Connie, for organizing it with the Wellness Club. And we'll certainly make sure that the kids arrive to school safely, and we encourage parents to join us for the walk. Our Memorial Day recess, obviously, is a 4-day recess, runs from Friday, May 23rd to Monday, May 26th. As a quick note, I notified our parents today that on Tuesday, June 3rd at 6 o'clock, we will have a parent forum to provide our initial protocols and procedures for next year's bell-to-bell cell phone ban, and certainly take any questions and feedback from our community members. I do have a policy for the board that I will share with you at the next board meeting, kind of like this room temperature. It's pretty black and white. There's not a lot of flexibility. It's a policy that from bell to bell, we won't have cell phones. I say that it's a policy and it's overarching. I would say let administration, let our buildings deal with the protocols and procedures. So the policy is pretty black and white. It's straight from the governor's mandate. It hasn't changed, so really the policy is that you're just following the mandate, and then we'll take care of the rest. That's what this forum is for. Matt last Friday visited Medina, who's had this cell phone ban in place already this year. He's learned a lot. He's talked to other high school principals. I've talked to our superintendents. I think we have a great plan in place. I think it's very friendly. We do want to receive some parent feedback, but I've already talked to teachers, you've talked to student council, you've talked to teachers, and we think we can make this work, and I think it's going to be perfect for Oakfield. And so what we want to do is get this information out, kind of get the thumbs up, and then I would like to do a test run before the end of the school year. I just don't want it to kind of hit the kids in the face come September 4th. We actually did talk about it and kind of laughed and said, well, what about the kids and the parents that say, I'm a senior and this has nothing to do with me and I'm not doing a test run? Well, we kind of joked and said, well, congratulations, seniors. You get 2 or 3 weeks of using your cell phone, and congratulations, and part of a gift to us. So we're going to roll that out. I'll share it with the board. I think it's got a tiered level to consequences and things that that we just need to abide by. But I think it's taking everybody's feedback. I think it'll work, and I think it'll work very, very well moving forward. So. But we'll open it up for the parents to come in and give us their feedback and suggestions. I don't know if Matt was going to talk about it. In talking to the students, they're very smart and witty, and something that I know I didn't think about.
Yeah, I met with them today. It was going to be part of my report, so I'll just jump Connie in the line a little bit. When I met today with the student council for high school, I'll meet with the middle school student council, and then I want to meet with other groups of students in the next week or so. Well, when I went to Medina, I was a little surprised because I went into classrooms and spoke to kids, and I was expecting to hear some apprehension, eye rolling. This policy is not good. I don't like it. I wish I could use my phone at lunch. But I really heard an overwhelming majority of students saying, I didn't think I would like it. I actually like this policy, which shocked me. And then another large segment said, well, I hated it at first, but I'm used to it. There wasn't a lot of grumbling about this thing ruining the school day. It wasn't a police state over there. The principal wasn't running around snatching phones. I was pleasantly surprised with that visit. So what I wanted to do was meet with the kids and let them know, like, it is, as John said, it's black and white, it's coming. What will be some of the challenges that we face, and how will we be proactive in overcoming them, so that we can have a smooth day where the focus is on teaching and learning, not on gotcha, give me the phone, and policing that. So I'm optimistic, more so now than I was a month or 2 months ago.
Matt made the comment to me that there was a student that said, well, what about, we're not going to be able to take pictures or photos of fun things that are going on in school. Like, what about the pep assembly and the homecoming, and if we wanted to take pictures? You're right. Like, you're not in class, you're at a pep assembly, there's games going on, kids are taking pictures, you're getting ready for homecoming, stuff like that. We're looking to be very, lenient in that sense of, okay, you now have administrative approval for this educational event to,
like entire days where we say the cell phone ban isn't in effect. Today is a day that's about celebrating homecoming. And if we can do that and still be in compliance and give us some wiggle room, we think that would be a nice concession to the students.
right. So I invite, like I said, parents that have questions, concerns, feedback for us, Tuesday, June 3rd, 6 o'clock. We'll roll out really kind of what the policy says, if it's approved by then or not. I'll even roll out exactly what the governor says, which is exactly what the policy says, and then what our protocols, will be. And really it is district-wide. You're gonna have 3rd, 4th, 5th graders down at the elementary that have phones. This pertains to them too. So we'll go over all of that. We'll gather all the information, and then we're hopeful in 48 hours, if we need to adjust, that we kind of tell the kids, hey, we're gonna try this, and work with staff as well. So we're ready for, next school year, but I think it'll be good. We had, I think over a dozen FFA students compete this past weekend in various events at the convention in Syracuse. Congratulations to Chloe Lamb, who was named Grand Champion Showman for dairy cows, if I'm correct. That's what I heard. Vivian Hilchey exhibited her market hogs and won and was named Reserve Champion Showman. NOA was recognized as a top 10 chapter and membership growth in New York State this year. So thank you to Todd Hoffines and those students, just awesome work. I love seeing them out there every single day and seeing the pictures and hearing where they're going and what they're doing. It's great. I do want to take a shout out to our varsity tennis team, who remains undefeated at 11-0 this spring, so keep it rolling. And finally, I do ask that our parents and families pay close attention to the announcements sent through Parent Square, whether it come from administration or their teachers or their coaches or the advisors of their clubs, as the end of this school year is just crazy. It brings a lot of celebrations, events, ceremonies, and it's a very, very busy time. I have a lot of friends say, oh, you're wrapping up the school year. Nope, I'm ramping it up. It's just nuts. So hopefully the families can stay on schedule with all of us, and if there's any questions, feel free to call the buildings or district office. And just a busy time of year. That's all I have.
Thanks, John. Let's see here. Connie, any updates?
I first want to just touch real briefly, John mentioned Bike to School Day, and while yes, I have a small piece in it, it's really Kim Fisher, the elementary secretary. She sends a Parent Square, she coordinates, she does all that, so I just want to make sure she gets that shout out, because she does that heavy legwork with that piece. Good news, OA is done with their testing, except for a few random kids that just have to make up because they might have been sick or something, so we did our ELA testing first. That was right when we came back from break. Then we did science in the middle, and we just have finished up with math. So another year in the books.
Well, thanks, Connie, and thanks to Kim as well. She sends a lot of information out, from lost mittens to, you name it. Thanks, Connie, for organizing all of the assessments. I know it's not an easy lift at all. And it's a stressful time for sure. Matt.
I'll add, in addition to the cell phone commentary, which I've already added, I'll add that there is a cool tradition that I think is coming. Our PTO, I think, is spectacular. I mean, I think it's exceptional. I don't know of any high school that has a PTO that's as active as ours. They are looking to do so much for our kids, and they proposed an idea that I fell in love with, and we're going to run with it. So we do a senior breakfast with the parents for all the seniors. We do it the day of the prom. I think it's great. The kids sometimes, they don't know they want their parents next to them until years from now, where that experience is something that they'll remember. So we're going to do something similar with our 8th graders. They're not necessarily moving up to 9th grade, but they are. They're moving down to this hallway, and we're going to celebrate them with a family breakfast in 8th grade as well this year, and have just kind of a nice breakfast, invite the parents in, and that is going to be sponsored by our PTO, and I just couldn't be more thrilled with Tina Bach, Christina Maxwell, and the rest of the PTO.
So we should plug their spaghetti dinner, right? Is that what we have
Yes.
tonight?
Yes.
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 Yep.
That's a good point.
So I think there's still a lot of tickets available.
Another thing, Matt, maybe you and I can work on this campaign for the cell phones. Bring back the booth. Okay, now, hang on with me here, because some of us remember the booth. It was a payphone that was right outside the auditorium, and that's what we had to communicate with our parents. So we could have like a retro day, we could, like the booth.
And we have a phone out there too. So.
Yeah, and it was
see
awesome. You
that,
could
make
close
it
the
look
door
like
in there, you could have like your own private conversation. Sometimes there was a line, I can remember before basketball games when we'd have to wait for the bus, we may or may not call a strange number just for the fun of it. But it's something that we can work on, I think. We'll get wheels on this one.
The good news is at 2:45, they can go back into the 21st century and bust out their cell phones and call home. They don't gotta call collect and say, come get me, Mom, and hang up real quick.
That's right, but the booth they can use all day long,
And hope
right?
you had a quarter, otherwise you're waiting here till whatever time the original agreement was.
Do you remember the booth?
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't a booth when I was here, it was just on the wall. There was no privacy.
No, there was a
It was
wooden
a-
door
yeah.
that you
Yeah,
could
it
go
was-
in.
No, I did not experience
like
that.
full,
Mine was just on the wall. You had to have your conversation fully in public.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, it was a time, maybe we could bring it back, man. We might have more pressing stuff to do,
Yeah, I feel like maybe.
We'll have a retro day, home thing.
Hey, we'll do it, JC, any updates?
been a great great spring.
I don't know, by the start of that, it doesn't sound like it's been so great there.
Well, the rain has been terrifying, but like John, I love it when the campus is full. We're lucky to have had all 4 of our baseball, softball teams home on campus last week. That was fun to experience. Huge shout out to our grounds crew and coaching staff for moving lots of water, getting fields ready, pitching in, shifting needs, really getting it done outside so we can get those games in for our kids. Very much appreciate their attention to detail and how hard they had to work for some of those days. I can tell you that a lot of mornings last week, my phone rang and said, our fields are underwater, unplayable, what can you do? And my next call will be outside, how we look, we take a ride around and we make it happen. So I really appreciate the flexibility and taking on extra work so our kids can get games in a very tight time of the year. It's great to watch them and get those games in at home. So very much appreciative and looking forward to a great end of the season.
So sometimes I'll wander over, when there's gonna be a game that night, and I came last week, I think it was the night that maybe Holly came here, we were supposed to be in Holly, and that varsity baseball field was underwater. It was at 1 o'clock, and Jordan said they'd be playing on it. And the message we got from you was 3 of the 4 fields, and then a couple hours later, 4 of the 4 fields. So I do give, Jordan was working on that field, and John Mullen was on the other one. I think your other John was maybe over. Absolutely. And sometimes it can be the source of some strife, right, in the community when we lose some games. And it seems like this year, for the most part, is either like, no doubt about it, we can't play, or we've got a really nice day like what yesterday was. But that was a couple days in a row there where it took some work. So they were out there. Really nice job.
But what a shift in the story, right? Not too long ago, I can remember we get a little rain, nothing. And so there's been a lot of work on those fields, and it's definitely noticeable. And the effort's pretty amazing. I teach with a lady that coaches JV softball, and she's Julie. And she's always like, oh, our fields aren't ready, or this school's fields aren't ready, or that. And it's like, well, we got 4 fields. And she's like, there's no way. And you're right, that was that conversation.
Kendall and Holly both came here that week.
Yeah, so that's huge. That's really huge, regardless if we have turf or not. It's just, it's amazing.
It was a team effort. There were a couple of coaches that went down and helped custodial crew, a willingness for them to pitch in too. Custodial crew allowing us to go down and pitch in a hand was appreciated too.
Yeah,
Make it happen. It's a team effort.
It's definitely noticed. Let's see here. Rob.
Just one thing to share. I wanted to reach out and say, don't forget hoveringhornet.org. When Mike and Billy were here. But I have some really great time-lapse footage. We took a couple of iPads with a special mount, had them up for days, and every 8 seconds a photograph was taken. So when you see this, and it kind of was like fast motion, you see entire walls come down into the next phase, and so I got some editing to do, but it's going to be a big part of the next episode that we release. So some really cool stuff in this inside work, more so than as a feature note outside stuff. But there's a lot happening inside now. You get some really good footage of that. Even yesterday too, they're pouring the concrete. The pictures are great on the screen, but when you see the guys actually doing the work, it kind of like makes sense of like how the stages happen. So I've even had some elementary students say that they didn't know that certain things were put up with those pressure treated lumber. Like that's not permanent. That's going to come down because they were putting up the steel room. So we got into conversations about how stuff works when they're seeing different pieces of the project like that. So it's pretty neat stuff.
What day are we on, Rob? What's the day?
My last episode was day 60, and that's been about 2.5 weeks ago. So I'd say we're around 85 or 90.
Wow.
So I calculated when I make the next episode how many since the past one.
Super cool way to document it. Thanks. Thank you, Rob. Alexis, any updates?
Well, end of the school year, so it's definitely been really crazy. Everyone is excited for prom. That's coming up next month, so I am super excited about that. Ghosties is going to end sooner than I can really imagine it. I think we have 2.5 weeks left, somewhere around there. So it's just crazy. We also went on the FFA trip. We didn't go with Oakfield, but it was fun because it's like the second year my teacher's ever really done it. So it was definitely a great experience for me as a senior, being her first one last year and seeing the new juniors that are coming up into our position, and then just everything coming into the end of the school year of like field days coming up and just all the activities that I keep hearing about. So I'm very excited for that.
So Alexis, what program are you in at BOCES? What's the?
I'm in animal science.
Your animal science? Yeah, that would make sense then. That's cool. And you went for both years, 11 and 12 grade?
Yeah.
So, thanks, Alexis. On to new business. Be it resolved that items 9.2 through 9.6 be approved by consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Matt. Can I get a second?
Second.
We'll give that one to Pete. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 9.7. 9.7. Close your ears, Alexis. There may be some. This is for the next one. Be it resolved that the Board of Education select and approve Elijah Loyson as the student ex officio for the 2025-2026 school year. Can I get a motion? Thanks, Pete.
Second.
Any discussion? Thanks, Elijah. We look forward to hearing from you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Carla, any communications? Nope. Let's see here. 11.2. Budget here. Let's see here.
Yeah, I just provided the board those upcoming 10-year recommendations, and then there's the top 10 of the class of 2025. Paige Harding is our valedictorian, and Jess Sosnowski is our salutatorian, along with 3 through 10, just for your information.
Yeah, congratulations to those guys. I know they work super hard. I looked at that first number a couple of times. It's hard to get over 100 average, I would say. I know I sure wasn't close to it. Let's see, on to personnel. I wasn't. Surprise. Be it resolved that items 12.2 through 12.3 be approved by a consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get, thank you, Jackie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 12-4. Resignation, be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Julia Urinik, effective June 30th, 2025. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second? Thanks, Pete. Any discussion?
Sorry to see her go, former student here. She did a nice job with her year, and she was just on the FFA trip and seemed like she was doing a nice job with kids. So she's going to Springville, which has maybe a more robust ag program than, well, I don't want to take anything away from our ag program, but Springville's got an FFA program that has some history to it, and we're a fledgling program. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll definitely not just miss her impact in the classroom, but those awesome belt buckles. Those are, yeah, right, those are something. I still haven't tried them yet in my classroom. Can I get a all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Retirement. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the retirement of Mr. Bruce Chat, effective July 8th, 2025. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
Just give
Got
it
it,
to
I'll
her.
take the second.
man, this fight. Any discussion? Bruce has been a longtime employee. He's been here for 15 years. There's some statistics in here. He says that it's driven over 1 million miles transporting our Hornets to and from school, which you could probably multiply that times 5. The stress on those buses, holy smokes, good for him for being able to do that. 15 years is a long time to be transporting our kiddos, and he's done it in a safe and respectful way. We really do appreciate that. So we're sorry to see him retire, but we wish him the best of luck in retirement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Closing meeting. Before we go into executive session here. Mallory, we'll start with you tonight.
Starting with me.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I just want to kind of echo some of the things we've seen. The end of the school year is definitely busy. Thank you again to the PTO. They do a lot. You're totally right, Matt brought that up. They do a ton for the school and our students, and they've been really influential. I think a lot, especially the last probably 5 years, it's gotten really active. So definitely make sure you get your spaghetti dinner tickets. They've got a lot going on. And yeah, I would say, thank you to everyone for organizing all these events. There's a ton across the elementary and high school and middle school that are going on right now. So definitely know that all those after school activities are not easy to coordinate, but we appreciate it and the kids appreciate it, and I look forward to a lot of those things every year. So thanks for everybody who's been taking part in those in different ways. So,
Thanks, Mallory.
yeah.
Jackie?
Taking a tour before the board meeting with the capital project, it really does, you mentioned it before, give the grand scale of how much is being done and how much, just looking at the property we have, what's being changed, evolved, looking at what stuff that I didn't even know was there when I went to school, and just it gives a whole level of appreciation when you see it in progress, how impacting it is on our students, on our teachers and faculty, and I do appreciate the flexibility, because this gives it, like you've said, a big adjustment for a lot of the teachers. So I do appreciate that flexibility. But exciting to see the progress and having a vision, and I sometimes struggle with that. So it is kind of really nice to see it and have it explained. So thank you for the tours, for arranging that. Looking forward to the upcoming concerts, band concerts, chorus is coming. This is always like a fun, thriving end of year. Sports are coming. If we can get it in with the rain, does anybody look at the forecast?
That's not pretty.
It's not pretty. And I appreciate the grounds work, doing all that, the groundskeepers. That's amazing to pull that off, and I can't believe how many people said, I can't believe you got those games in, and it's pretty impressive. So much appreciated, but looking forward to wrapping it up, coming down the home stretch.
Thanks, Jackie.
That's it.
Pete?
Yeah, I think for the kids, this is a fun time of the year it starts, right? But I imagine for administrators and teachers, it'd be so easy to be like, oh, this point I get to the end, but you guys do a lot, and it's almost like you guys have to go into overtime, right? And but you guys put so much effort into making this last month so fun for these kids. And I'm glad we talked about the cell phone ban, because that was actually going to be my closing remark, is that because I'm sure after we get through the budget, that'll be the next big topic. But first, everybody has to remember it's state mandated, so it's not like it's something that we're just doing. But if you actually take the time to read a lot of the studies that are done about it, there's a lot of good things that come about it. One of the things that I really like is the actual social interaction between the kids, like 10 times 10. And I mean, you just look at us as a society, as adults, as kids, and everybody, you walk through an airport and everybody's got their heads down. Everybody has their phones and that. I think it's a good thing to get kids interacting. I mean, I fight my kids all day long to stay off their phones, and it's just like, it's like a drug to these kids. And even adults that I know, it is. So I think it's going to be a good thing. I mean, you're talking about taking pictures. I thank God every day that there was no cell phones or cameras when I was a kid. I think we all just got to go back to, we all lived without them before, and everybody's going to get through it and be okay with it. So I just hope everybody has the patience to work through it and go along with it. Hopefully we'll see some good results.
Thanks, Pete. Allie?
Right, so very exciting on the end of the school year coming up, and I want to say thank you to Alexis for your time on the board here. You've done an amazing job reporting and showing us your enthusiasm for OA. So I'm saying goodbye to you and welcoming Elijah. That'll be exciting.
You got one more left.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah,
One more. For the top 10, looking at those seniors and knowing that this is your last year, that's just a wonderful thing to see your name on that list of top 10, and hopefully you can keep going on and leave a legacy that, OA was your start to your career. I don't know of, any student that's failed out of OA, so seeing the achievements of these kids and where they're gonna go, it's so exciting. Looking forward to all of the upcoming events, PTO, get your spaghetti dinner ticket. Other than that, I look forward to next month and what we have to come for the following year.
let's see, speaking to the budget, so Laura, it might surprise you that usually nobody shows up for our presentation.
They heard I was presenting.
Yeah,
Is that what it was? There was a murmur in the village. There was a
You've been
murmur.
initiated
Tried,
now,
tried.
so you did well with it.
I bring 'em in.
That was the most questions, and obviously it's got something to do with us going over the tax cap, and so they were good questions, and happy to have the people show up, and you did well with that. I sort of label myself as the fiscal conservative, of the board, and maybe there's others too. But yes, we're going over the tax cap, but a lot of work was put into this budget, and 2.5% is a bit higher than we've gone out in the past, but I think it's necessary for where we are now. So I hope that the community shows up and supports that. Of course, there's a lot of things going on in the building that day, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of traffic here. Hopefully, people find their way to vote. So you don't have me going against you this year. I don't know if you've made any bets with who's going to get the most votes. Maybe I won't vote for you.
Is that what it is?
And try to keep your number
Is
down.
that what it is?
No, I'm kidding. I think you've got a couple great candidates,
Thanks.
for the board. So I feel good about that. Again, thanks to the grounds crew for everything they've done to get these games in. A few more weeks there, and hopefully, some runs for a few of these teams in sectionals. We've got some good, successful teams out there. The tour that we went on, so September 1st, they're saying, to play football and soccer, and we'll see. They've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot to get done out there, but they seem confident, so hopefully that'll be the
Keep you
case.
all in the loop.
Yeah, well, I'll be watching across the road on some of them, so I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Matt. Laura, I agree with Matt. It's not an easy task to come in to a budget that's being built, or pretty close to being built. You've done a really nice job in a really short amount of time, and I did not envy being you tonight doing that.
Oh, thanks.
So it's not an easy thing to present, but you did a great job, and I don't ever really remember too many people asking questions during the budget, and I appreciate it. And the audience is Mr. Snyder, who is one of our business administrators here. So that's makes it even harder if you knew that or you didn't. So thank you for doing that stuff. Couple of things that I want to mention really quickly, and I don't know as if I've done this too many times. As a shout outs to a couple of my children's teachers that I've really been thankful for. Mrs. Luker and Mrs. Harkness for Nate have done just a wonderful job this year. And they develop and create connections in a way that have had an impact on Nathan wanting to learn and wanting to do his best. Nathan's always had his eye on his end average, but it hasn't been so much about that this year. He's really concerned of doing his best for them as well. And we're getting close to that test mode for him. And I feel like they've prepared him in a way to be successful that I'm really impressed by. And so I want to thank Mrs. Harkness and Mrs. Luker, and I also want to do a nod to the elementary as well for Lauren and Natalie's teachers. Mrs. Salato has done a great job with Lauren in 3rd grade. The other night, I see that same motivation. Lauren comes home, it's 9 o'clock, we just had a softball game, and Lauren's like, Dad, I gotta get this elapsed time down. I was like, okay, right now? And she's like, yep, it's all, I don't have to do it, it's not homework, I just wanna be able to do it. And man, she didn't need my help at all. She had a systematic way of finding elapsed time. I just absolutely loved the T-chart that she developed. And so thank you, Mrs. Salato, for all the work you've done there. And then huge thumbs up to Candace George. She has taught my children over and over again at the UPK level and the kindergarten level, which she did a phenomenal job there. And she's stepped into a really tricky role going into 4th grade and being the sole math teacher, and boy, the conversations that I have with Natalie about finding angles or area. It's just, it's lovely. I enjoy it, I appreciate it, and I know Candace is working her tail off, and I say thank you for getting all of our children through these assessments with no stress, and just believing in our kids and the curriculum that they have to teach. It's not just the Salado or George or the other, it's all of them, and I appreciate the collective effort. And hopefully elementary can kind of put a pin in it, right, Connie, for now, and then on for the high school, for the regions, the you know, the big ones there. Tests are something we gotta take, and there's sometimes a great way to reflect on where our strengths and where our weaknesses are. No, I gotchas. So with that being said, I'd like to enter executive session at 7:20. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. If anybody has to do a bathroom stop,